Hello and welcome back. We're continuing our unit on quadrilaterals, and last time we talked about parallelograms and some of the properties that parallelograms have. We're just going to piggyback on that a little bit today and talk about the tests for parallelograms. But first, of course, a bit of review. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel. So this is parallelogram ABCD, where BC is parallel to AD and AB is parallel to DC. And last time, like I said, we talked about some properties of parallelograms. For example, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite sides are congruent. Today we're talking about the tests for parallelograms. And a lot of times these tests sort of partner or mirror the properties, like this. If both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. See how they kind of match up? Another property was that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. So a test could be, if both pairs of opposite angles of a quadrilateral are congruent, well, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Another property that we looked at was, if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its diagonals bisect each other. Well, the test that goes with this is, if the diagonals of a quadrilateral bisect each other, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. We also have a bonus test, and it looks like this. If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral is both parallel and congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So let's try some stuff out. We're going to find x and y so that each quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Now what do we know? We know that if both pairs of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So for the top and bottom sides, we'll set those equal to each other, and we're going to find an x that makes those two sides congruent. In this case, x equals 24. We'll do the same thing with the sides. 2y equals y plus 19, and y equals 19. Let's do another one. If both pairs of opposite angles of a quadrilateral are congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So we need opposite angles congruent. So 4x minus 35 equals 3x plus 10. Solve for x. So when x equals 45, those opposite angles are congruent, then this is a parallelogram, as long as the other opposite angles are also congruent. So we need y to equal 20 for those opposite angles to be congruent. Okay, this one's a little bit trickier, so buckle your seatbelt. If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral is both parallel and congruent, then the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So we need these two sides to be parallel. If those two sides are parallel, that means that these two angles, do you remember the relationship that those would be? Alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So 9x equals 45 and x equals 5. So we have those angles congruent, which means those two lines are parallel. Now we need the sides to be congruent. So 6y equals 18 and y equals 3. The properties of parallelograms and the tests for parallelograms are very similar. If you can do one, you can do the other. So good luck, and thanks for being here.